Welcome back to the Fly Kingfisher Winning Post. For those of you joining us, we are in Pune for the Adar Poonawalla Multi-Million. And well, the man behind the scenes, the person in charge, is Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla. Mahindra Malia got a chance to catch up with him.
What began as an individual stable business venture grew leaps and bounds over the years. And today, Serum Institute of India is a big global player. The man at the helm never let loose his grip on the impetus of the business venture. And today, Serum Institute is a proud supplier to almost 50% of the world's requirement when it comes to child welfare. Dr. Cyrus, the man behind the whole venture, is with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Dr. Cyrus, tell us how it all began.
When I wanted to start my business career, I knew at that time the king of sports, which my family was passionately involved in, so was I, had no future in a socialist country like India. And although I've still persevered the sport to its ultimate end, I felt a business that would be dealing with health or the masses of this huge country and its infant population would be an ideal choice. That's how Serum Institute of India was conceived. Incidentally, on the day in which the Adar Poonawalla Gold Cup has been run this week, I must say that the foundation stone was laid by my late wife Vilu immediately the following morning of the marriage, which she insisted on doing instead of going on a honeymoon. And she also considered herself to be my Lakshmi. That's how Serum Institute has perhaps gone to this meteoric rise of being the world's largest manufacturer in several pediatric vaccines.
How involved was Vilu in your business interests?
She gave me a lot of support and encouragement, especially when things were not looking up. And she was a very strong believer in prayers, be it Parsi or Tirupati or Sai Baba, everything together. And great source of encouragement and was never a defeatist. Sometimes I used to get demoralized by the attitude of non-cooperation from the government health ministry, but that never deterred her.
What was the major step in taking Serum Institute to a higher level?
Serum's meteoric rise only started when WHO gave us accreditation. And we got pre-qualified for vaccines such as measles, tetanus, diphtheria, whooping cough, BCG, and later on hepatitis. This gave us an opening for now being able to supply to UN agencies as much as more than 140 countries worldwide. And as you know, more than 1 out of every 2 child that was born in 2010 was administered a vaccine from Serum Institute.
This sure must have been a massive expansion. How did you manage to launch on such a gigantic scale?
World-class facilities were set up during the period that we started Serum Institute in the late 60s by plowing back all the profits of the company. And that enabled us to have facilities which are R&D, were able to improve the technology to such a level that our price was half of what everybody else was supplying. I could have profiteered. I thought it was a humanitarian gesture. I'll give a very low price, high quality product. Don't waste money on advertisement and publicity. With the result that I didn't realize that the entire competition was wiped out.
Was the stance not to pump money into advertising and publicity a policy decision?
Yes, and I wanted the benefit of my philanthropy to go down to the patient instead of the middleman, and therefore I was fighting the doctors and encouraging governments and hospitals to take the product as far as possible directly, so that the benefit would go to the underprivileged children of the world.
Does it involve a lot of your personal monitoring of your corporate affairs even to this day?
I have a very good team, but they look up to me for almost hands-on as a CEO monitoring. And once I retire, which I will have to one day, then Adar will have to also take that mantle on his head.
How are you grooming Adar?
That was the first question Bill Gates asked me when I met him a few months again, that I hope after you the company will not go into wrong hands because we're depending on you for low-cost, high-quality vaccine, which could otherwise be exploited by Big Pharma. And he took assurance from Adar that not only won't sell off, but he'll continue my philanthropic policy and take the company to regal heights.
How do you perceive the future for Serum Institute?
Well, obviously it's a very bright future, but we have to keep on top of R&D to see that all the newer vaccines that are being launched by Big Pharma in the US, we are also not very far behind, like pneumococcal vaccine, rotavirus vaccine, the human papilloma vaccine, and dengue or whatever other vaccines, encephalitis vaccine. So that meningitis, which we have already launched, but we want to improve on that. If we don't do that, then there is a dim future. If we keep up to it, and if Adar wants to even acquire biotech companies and stay focused on his core sector, then Serum will continue to be even a bigger global player than it is today.
Has Adar come forth with any vital or innovative inputs of his own?
Yes, tremendous. We are on the verge of acquiring a company that manufactures polio vaccine in Holland, and he has spent the whole week there. And I deliberately let him go instead of me so that he, stands on his own feet in evaluating the company.
Coming back to your wife, Dr. Poonawalla, what was the last year like without Veelu around?
Well, I really missed her much more than I did. It's a tremendous lesson for all those who take their wives for granted. And when she went, there was such a vacuum, I really didn't think that it would affect me. But it did affect me, and therefore the pomp and gaiety that we've been doing at the Poonawalla Million and the SA Poonawalla has been markedly lacking. And that's what, because there's been a very low-key event in mark of honor of our departure.
How do you recall Veelu's fond memories?
Well, as I said, very gutsy. She was a tomboy, passionately involved in. I met her when she was on a horseback in Mahabaleshwar. And we're going to name a lot of horses after her memory, like Mahabaleshwar Memories, which I have done. And she was extremely fond of horse racing, more than almost anybody I know on course. And that is a known fact. You've also seen it yourself. And she was not only passionate because people claim to be passionate. You could see her ride at the age of 60 on a horse in China, for example, and she rode all our stallions, which are extremely dangerous, much to the shock of my brother, who would, if known, not have allowed her to ride and take a risk to her health.
Racing and your personal business would have consumed a lot of your time. Was racing your first priority or your passion?
Well, administering racing, which has been my forte for the last at least a couple of decades when I have been chairman, took away a lot of my energy and attention from Serum Institute. And now that I'm not on the helm, it's definitely helped the company tremendously. And in hindsight, I feel if I had paid more attention to Serum than I did in the administration of horse racing and breeding, I think Serum would have been at least twice its size.
Your success, Dr. Poonawalla, has been phenomenal. What advice would you offer to young aspiring entrepreneurs?
It has to be partly in you to have entrepreneurship, vision, guts, and have the courage of your conviction to do what you believe is correct, and then correct yourself if you realize that you made a mistake. and not go on just in doing what you believe is correct, but not what the others believe is correct. All entrepreneurs, the secret of their success is they have to take risks. You have to have the ability or acquire the ability, which I've made others do now, that while the deal is being proposed to you or suggestion is being proposed to you and you know it from your own experience, your mind should be quick enough to assess the situation and then at least 8 out of 10 take the right decision.
As a final word, how do you look back on your life?
Well, I'm totally fulfilled. I set out to be a committee member 30 years ago, and I at that time never dreamt that I'll head all the turf clubs, the bodies. They represent India as a sole representative of the International Racing Authority as the first Indian. So that was fulfilled. In Serum Institute also started as a very small company. Today it's a world major player, and my engineering companies which I started are also #1 in their field. I think I'm totally fulfilled.
Well, in a superb success story, when we come back from this break, we'll catch up, well, with his son to find out how he's coping with the pressure of being the next generation. Welcome back to the Fly Kingfisher Winning Post, and moving right along, next up is Get to Know Your Pro. It's Adar Poonawalla, the generation next in the Poonawalla family. One of the most dynamic young entrepreneurs in the racing world is Adar Poonawalla. Along with owning a 50% share of the Poonawalla stud farm, he's also the next generation for the Serum Institute of India.
Well, I started quite early. As soon as I finished my education, I started working full-time with my father, and that's been now about 8 to 9 years. The main breakthrough came about in the early 90s when WHO recognition came. The World Health Organization approved our facilities for exports. Today we export to about 130 countries globally through UNICEF and directly to other countries. And so I would say that was the time when it really took off and we were able to export out of India.
Adar Poonawalla is an early learner for corporate successes. His strengths are that of a seasoned entrepreneur.
Well, because of our low price, we were able to offer our vaccines at 50-60% less than what was being offered at that time. And this is mainly business done with other governments of other countries. And so this was a major factor which they recognized and applauded us for.
Adar Poonawalla, along with his father, Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla, ensured a no-frills marketing strategy and have provided the children of the world a high-quality product at low costs. Adar Poonawalla is in fact fortunate to have a role model in his father.
Well, you know, we share at least half the day, even today, in meetings and other decisions that we have to take. And the one thing I suppose what I have learnt is his ability to take decisions on proposals where, you know, there would be a waste of time. Every day we get 10-15 proposals, and it's very important to be able to filter that and choose the right one and say no to the others at a very early stage. Otherwise you find yourself deploying resources and wasting a lot of time exploring, you know, whether this will work, whether that will work. So that's an important skill to have, and I feel that I'm you know, learning how to use that to my advantage.
And what about the future?
Looking forward, I'm trying to develop and launch a few other vaccines. We launched swine flu, H1N1. It was the first nasal vaccine, so there was no injection, no pain, no reactions, very easy to use. I've also tried to enter into private markets, which would add to our sales. We've set up offices in Russia, in Argentina, in Nigeria, and you know, Now there's a lot of competition as well, so we're trying to deal with that and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. Also, another challenge is getting good human talent and scientists. The guys who had built Serum with my father are now close to retirement, so I'm trying to build up the next generation. So it's quite a challenge, but I'm dealing with it.